Welcome to my podcast. My name is Drew Blazik, and I am a professor of finance and economics. I wanted to give you a quick introduction about my new podcast on economics through the social teachings of the Catholic faith. I have graduate degrees in economics, finance, and criminal justice. I live in Ohio with my wife, Jessie, and our 6 kids. The reason I started this podcast is because I know there is a demand for more knowledge on what the church teaches about economics. I run into Catholics every day that want to know more. And it seems, though, there is a confusion among Catholics on how to address certain issues. In this podcast, we will explore that intersection between our Catholic faith and economic topics. As a religion that has been around for 2 millennia, Catholicism has developed a rich tradition of social and economic thought that offers a unique perspective on these issues. On this channel, I will delve into topics such as the role of the market, the dignity of the worker, and the increasing wealth gap that we are experiencing. We'll also examine how Catholic principles can be applied to modern day economic systems. And the hope is that it will help to answer questions about globalization, usury, capitalism, socialism, and communism. We will explore the intellectual thought, Catholic philosophy, and gain a deeper understanding of how the Catholic faith and economics might be the most pressing issue of the day. Today, I wanted to give you a broad yet simple introductory of the principles of Catholic social teaching that applies to economics. So here are 6 points that guides us as a society. Number 1, the dignity of the human person. The Catholic Church teaches that every human being has an inherent dignity and value, and that economic systems and practices should respect and promote this dignity. Number 2, the common good. Economic systems and practices should be oriented toward the common good, which is the good of all people and the whole of society. Number 3, subsidiarity. Economic decisions and activities should be made at the lowest possible level of organization, where individuals and communities have the greatest degree of control and responsibility. And number 3, solidarity. Economic systems and practices should promote solidarity among all people. Stewardship, economic systems and practices should be based on responsible stewardship of the earth's resources. Number 6, a just wage and working conditions. Workers have a right to a just wage and work conditions that respect their dignity and enable them to support themselves and their families. So it is important that the father should be able to make enough to take care of the needs of the family. I will also attempt to tackle the most pressing sin of our economic system, the sin of usury. And I will do so from a traditional Catholic perspective. So let's take some time to understand what this sin is. My study of it, I came to realize to understand the world as is, you must first have a clear understanding of this sin. I'll try to define it for you. So, in the most basic definition, this is the charging of interest on loans, period, which has been clearly taught by the councils and popes over the centuries. Although it has been a controversial issue in modern times to try to justify this sin. However, any amount received above the principal is usury. That's not my words, but the definition from the Council of Trent. And this needs to be taught and clarified, exactly what the church has always taught. But trust me, this is contentious. You don't believe me? Bring this topic up with some fellow Catholics. Just sit back and watch what happens. Try to define it how the church fathers, councils, and the encyclicals of the popes who defined it. Trust me, you will be surprised. In fact, usury has been condemned by the church since the earliest days of Christianity and has been a subject of theological moral debate ever since. So bring this topic up with some solid Catholics and watch what happens. Now, the Catholic Church's position on usury is rooted in its understanding of justice, charity, and the dignity of the human person. You see, it's back to those principles. The church believes that usury is contrary to charity, and it prioritizes profit over the well being of others and can cause harm to individuals and society. We will look at the historical context and how modernism tries to evolve it and change the dogmatic teaching of usury. We'll examine the moral and ethical implications of usury and how it relates to the broader issues such as monetary policy, labor, and the capitalists, our personal lives, and government policy. I personally believe usury is at the center, the most important topic that connects all other ills in society. There's a quote I keep on going back to from Pope Innocent IV. He made this astute observation. Quote, usury is generally prohibited because if it were allowed, all manner of evils would ensue. It is clear that practically every evil follows from usury, unquote. Encyclicals have either explicitly or implicitly discussed usury and labor. Usury and labor are connected at the core through the factors of production. The most notable encyclicals are Vex Prevenit, which outwardly condemned usury, Rerum Novarum on the condition of labor, and Quadragesimo Anno on the reconstruction of the social order. I will also examine the councils that condemned this sin. Here are just to name a few. First Council of Nicaea, Second Council of Tours, Third Council of Lateran, Second Council of Lyon, which this council reiterated the prohibition of usury and added that lay people engaged in usury should be excommunicated. Council of Vienna. This council reiterated the prohibition of usury in order that any cleric found guilty of usury should be punished. And then the Council of Trent. I will examine the mechanics and historical realities of monetary policy. This is one of my favorite topics to study. Look, our monetary policy is debt-based, which is essence creates money from debt in the most basic form and does through commercial banking, which does it ex nihilo, creates money out of nothing. I don't have time to go over the problems this causes in this podcast, but creating a profit from nothing seems though may contradict Catholic teaching on economics. Now, the primary objective of monetary policy is to maintain price stability, which is achieved by controlling inflation, but they do so by creating money by the means of usury and incentivizing the general public into usurious system. You catch that? Money is created by the means of the sin. I will examine our monetary policy through the Catholic principles and break down alternative monetary policies, such as two specific plans. Got the Chicago Plan and social credit. Monetary systems such as social credit was created by economists that have been long forgotten, like C.H. Douglas. We need to bring these great thinkers back to the public debate. There are viable monetary policies that would align with Catholic principles that were backed by notable economists such as Irving Fisher, Henry Simmons, Frank Knight, Milton Friedman, James Tobin. These are just to name a few. But the goal of this podcast is to bring Catholic thought to the forefront and try to find ways to implement these policies into our lives and public policies. We start first with us, then local governments, and then we move toward the national debate. As Catholics, let's live out subsidiarity at the most local levels. We need to be able to argue these points. There have been many important Catholic economic thinkers throughout history. Some of the most famous that we will cover are Thomas Aquinas, Luis de Molina, Bernardino of Siena, Jacques Maritain, Heinrich Pesch, Father Dennis Fahey, G.K. Chesterton, and Joseph Schumpeter. I also want to do book reviews on economists like Heinrich Pesch. Now, in my opinion, Pesch is the most influential economic or Catholic economist ever. It's imperative that his ideas are brought forth. He addresses the concerns of capitalism and socialism. These thinkers have contributed important ideas and perspectives on economic issues from a Catholic point of view, and their ideas continue to influence contemporary debates about economic policy and practice. On this podcast, I want to bring guests to you on these topics. So please listen in. because I truly believe the most pressing issue of our day surrounds economics. Thank you for listening. My name is Drew Blazik, and Lost to be Christie.